and 32E. Join the Discord to learn more.
Welcome back, Hard Focus, to a very, very special episode. Why, you ask, is it special? Because today it's just me and Stefano. Welcome back, Stefano.
Hello.
How are you? It's been a week. Apologies to our community that we missed the live show on Friday. Life throws you some curveballs sometimes, and I certainly got one of those. But we're back. We will be here Friday with our regular gaming show. Quite a bit of gaming chat in today's show. The NFT market on the move, Stefano. Let's have a look. Plenty of action there. I'm about to share the wrong screen. It's a BYBIT trade. I'm long ETH, which will make you happy, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously. Like, if you're not long, then you're not in crypto, isn't it? And you don't know what you're talking about.
On that note, very quick shill. If you are an experienced trader, please use the link below. We get a small commission from BYBIT if you do.
See what Sean has done over there?
Isn't that cheeky? Isn't that cheeky? Stefano, as a rather large holder of SLP, I'm sure you're very pleased. Look at this, people. Here is I'll change this screen for the week's biggest movers, and right at the top, without a doubt, the project that we've probably made more content on this show than any other, Axie Infinity, up a whopping 164% in the last week. What's going on?
Well, what happened is that you got number one, the FOMO has kicked in. It's official at this point, and we've seen that already. This shouldn't be any news if you've been like following the data and the numbers, or like if you're being like listening to us for the past like month. Axie has now achieved 350 daily active users. I think that like it's either like the episode of last week or 2 weeks ago where they were like at 200 or 250, something like that. Like it's out of
control. 350,000 you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you know, like they're adding new users like crazy. And why is that the case? Because obviously like the returns are still very, very good. If you're looking at stuff like, you know, the SLP, which is the token that you actually earn, you're really looking at very nice returns on the monthly. One thing that I want to put clear is that we're also starting a little bracket before going into anything, is that I'm personally going to start leveling down on talking about returns that can be generated on playing Axies and all the scholarships as well, because what happened is that now in the Philippines, there are raids happening of people attacking physically scholars, and forcing them to literally like steal their laptops with the assets, with the wallets, with the private keys, or forcing those people to basically like, yes, these things are actually now starting happening.
Wow.
So, you know, we know that there is potential. We're going to look at, you know, like the trend. We're going to look at, you know, the returns in the sense of like the charts and those type of things. But I'm not going to mention any more on like how much money you can make on the monthly playing Axie and those type of things. Just be aware that like if the FOMO is there, if they're actually adding hundreds of thousands of users a month at this point, it means that the return is actually pretty good on that side. But I want to be responsible on this, and I don't want to be one of the part of the problem, obviously. Yeah. Apart from that, so you got one thing that like the FOMO is there. Everybody on Twitter is obviously like asking for a scholarship. On the other side, you got the fact that the floor level for Axie is still very, very good. And so that is obviously like keeping up the demand and supply in a very, very good way. And then Axie team has decided to throw like the extra, the cherry on top, I would say. And so what they've done was doubling the requirements of AXS for breeding a new Axie. So instead of like paying 2 AXS per Axie that you're breeding, now you're actually paying 4 AXS. This has obviously generated an insane demand on AXS. I'm actually very happy because I bought AXS because I need to breed. I'm not holding AXS because I'm using AXS on the daily. But now I'm seeing the value of AXS that is like, oh, okay, maybe I'm not breeding anymore. Jokes aside, It's not the case, because if you're looking at the numbers, if you're redoing those equations, as of today, with the current AXS price, the current SLPs, and the floor level that we have on AXS, it's still profitable to breed with 0 out of 7, 1 out of 2, and 2 out of 7. So you can have 2 Axies, 2 virgins ones, breeding 3 times, and you're still generating a profit on every single one of the 3 breeds. 4 is when that line is being drawn, and so it depends on the type of Axie that you're gonna generate, and that's also a little bit of luck. But so what is happening is that demand and supply is perfectly in line. Requirements in terms of demand is actually being increased now, because everybody's breeding to keep up with the demand of scholars that needs to be filled. And that has also generated now a lot of the content creators or influencers, if you want to call that, on Twitter, that are starting calling on, Axies in the right moment now to be bought, right? Or you remember what happened in blah, 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 Axies there now. Well, number one, it's not true, because a year ago, Axie was in a good point to be bought. But number two, that is obviously generating a tons of FOMO. And now we're seeing even things where a floor price for a Mystic Axie is now at 22 ETH. A Mystic Axie is now worth more than a CryptoPunk on the floor level.
Wow. What's somebody told me the floor level of land now is 2.5 ETH. Is that correct?
So the land is another thing that has been going absolutely crazy. We got 2.8 on Savannah Land, which was the cheapest one, and Forest, which is, for example, the one that was donated from Geo himself a year ago to us, is now going a 3.3 ETH.
So me selling mine to Jordan for an ETH a few weeks ago was a really bad move.
Yes.
Great.
Look, here's the thing. One, it's never a bad thing to take profit. You can never be sad when you're making a profit or when you're making money. And I see very, very often people being like, oh, if only I would have hold. If you have that mentality, you would be in the same situation when the bear market hits, or when you drop 60 or 80 or 90%. And at that point, you would tell yourself, oh, if only I would have sold. It's one of those things that I mentioned many, many times, is dollar cost average in, but the real skill is also dollar cost averaging out. Yeah. That's where a lot of people are missing the point on those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's jump back into the NFT market here. Just a couple of other things I want to highlight for you. If we have a look at the other big movers, I've changed the display here to the biggest movers over the week. As you can see, NFTs have really exploded again. A big move from the Sandbox, up 52.2%. The Rev token is also a part of Mocha Brands, and I think one of the reasons that we've possibly seen that pump is the fact that Mocha Brands, here they are here, have just done a funding round. They raised another 50 million to add to this particular round. $138 million has been raised there, people. So I'm keeping a very close eye, more than keeping a close eye. I upped my stake in the Rev token, which currently is trading at around 8 cents. I got an entry of 5. This has been up around 60 cents, people. So if you're, we're not really a trading show here at all. We do like the functionality of that game and that project. But yep. Just giving you a heads up there. The other thing of note in the NFT space, it appears like GameStop are up to something in this market. I believe we're looking at middle of the month for a launch of some NFTs to existing shareholders is the way it's been presented at the moment. But if you go to nft.gamestop.com, here we are. Change the game. We've got an Ethereum logo here. So, yes, keeping a very close eye on how this one plays out also. Any other thoughts on NFTs in the gaming space, Stefano, before we move on to other topics?
Yeah, so one of the things about like the Rev, the sandbox and all of that, I am a little bit on the different side on that. I'm starting being a little bit more negative on the side of like the
Could have told me that before I
there.
bought more.
Well, but that's up to you. Everybody do what they feel like. Now, as you know, I've been buying into land on the sandbox back in the days. I still own some. I've been selling quite a bit, but a vast majority of my position in the past like 6-7 months, and the return has been like absolutely amazing. I bought into the F1 Delta time. I played the game. I missed out on the MotoGP, and I mentioned that was like kind of a not exactly the best show ever in terms of like pre-sale and so on. I played the Crazy Defense Hero game, which is once again under the same umbrella, and even there I should receive like an airdrop of tokens, and nothing is really happening, to be honest, yet. But my entire point of this is that what I'm seeing as a trending is that I see all of these sales that are being done by them, for the Rev, for MotoGP, from the Crazy Defense Hero, from the Sandbox, and this and that. But where is the product? Because here's the thing, I'm a big believer that the startup scene, the classic startup, would be like you have an MVP, you raise funds, and then you develop a product. Right now, how many months or years are they being into development at this point, and there is still nothing that can actually be used or touched? Let's take the Sandbox and compare that for a second with Decentraland. It's another NFT project. It's not a gaming NFTs, but it's not a gaming or a play to earn, even if partially it is, like are earning to like the Mega Cube event and so on. So they might have things like that. But look at the two projects, how they're being developed. One is constantly delivering in a good or in a bad way, but it's still like trying to deliver. The other one is selling land every single week. Right. I want to be able to use a product. F1 Delta time, apart from clicking a bottom and having like, a time trial, doesn't have the gameplay in place. The MotoGP, they had to postpone the opening of the packs. The opening of the packs. I'm not talking about the game playing. I'm talking about opening the packs. Like, yes, we're early. Yes, it's the beginning. Yes, whatever thing everybody can mention to protect those type of things. But there is a line or a point, at least for me, where I get a little bit like, okay, I'm start reducing my position because this is starting feeling like a money grab more than actually a real project at this point. I'm sure that they're going to deliver at one point, but I don't want to miss out on other boats or other horses if, this is becoming like too slow at this point. Speaking of which, on other things that are happening, on the NFT space, Lost Relic has launched the NFTs once again. They refilled their gameplay with new NFTs. So if you were playing before the History event, so even in that case, they took like a 2-month like break to like fix their problems, and now they're back on the right track. So bam, once again, there are NFTs over there. Nine Chronicles has been doing like absolutely fixed on so many things. They're gonna have like their live stream, I think this Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. They've done some giveaways. They're actually like remodeling a little bit of things on the Play to Earn portal. So now if you're playing the game, you can actually like earn some coins by doing that. And the other thing that I mentioned is that in the future, one of the things that they're going to do is that with weapons, you can disassemble them, and you also have a percentage of success. So when you're trying to leveling up a weapon, you might fail on doing that, and you might receive a new token. They're also going to give like airdrops, and in the sense of like rewards of new items that you will need to craft more powerful weapons. So they're increasing the range of more powerful things that you can have on top. So the top players can actually like improve even more and be more powerful and so on. So Nine Chronicles once again is going like at their own speed. Obviously, they're not like delivering at the same speed of Axie, but at the same time, they're a much newer project, but they're delivering. The game is available today. You can make a earn already as of today. And this shows again that, you know, there wasn't that like they've done one pre-sale or like one public sale. And that was a year ago. After that, they just like put their hands down and they start developing and delivering.
Yep.
Those are the type of project that I like. The other thing that like I think is going to be announced today, I didn't look into that too much, but Chain Monsters, which is something like Pokemon, like the old school Pokemon, where you have like your monsters, you fight in an RPG style of things. That one is launching their alpha number 5, if I'm not mistaken, today. And you have the chance of winning 25 different NFTs if you're participating in the alpha. So you're basically being an alpha tester, you're testing out the game, and your feedback is basically, and your time is being rewarded with NFTs on the game. Consider that as possible Genesis NFTs. So if you want to have like a different style, a different genre in game and testing out something new, that's something that is available today. Another thing is Voxes, and I mentioned Voxes like month ago. So Voxes is now like the floor level on Voxes has been increasing. A lot of people are starting like picking up on that, and floor price on Voxes is now like, I think it should be like 0.1 ETH or something like that. So it has been like pretty good, and they are now approaching and planning things for like Voxing number 5,000. So we're almost at 50% of the sales happened so far in the project, and soon they're gonna have like an alpha available as well to be played. The other things that is relating on NFTs, not on the play to earn, is the Yoshi drop that I reviewed in the past live stream. And Yoshi Drop has, on the 5th of July, they have launched their first drop to all the members. So if you have a membership on the Yoshi Drop that runs on the Wax blockchain, they basically like give you a song, an NFT song, every single month. And the first one, the Genesis drop, actually happened on the 5th of July. Like we can keep talking about this for hours. Every single project that is doing NFTs is delivering at this point. That's why I'm starting having problems with projects that are just doing sales and not delivering.
Yep, I hear you. And obviously a big shout out to Nine Chronicles, who do help support this channel. If you're a gamer, obviously if you follow our content, you probably are. Get over to our Discord. We got a ton of different rooms in there for each of the games. Get to know us in there, people. You're more than welcome. Now, let's just have a quick look at the other projects that we've had on the channel. There we go. Argo, obviously Axie Infinity. We've just spoken about going great guns. The initial donated value of the land there, as you can see, $347 now, worth 23,000. Crazy. Obviously, we've got Hex that we're endeavouring to get Richard Hart back on the channel. That's been a massive mover for us as well since we covered it. If you don't know, he's forking Ethereum, so we'll be covering that in some detail in the coming week for you as well. They're really the main ones of note, but the other thing I just want to point out is we did an interview with Coinflex. Now, I have gone onto that platform and basically gone into the stable coin, and I'm currently making, let me just bring that up. I'm currently making, I believe it's just under, let's have a look. There we go, Coinflex. There's a link below if you want to check this out, people. But basically, it's a nice, safe move for me. I'm making 6.77% on that stable coin. This was the first interest-bearing stable coin on the market. So great team behind this. I think it's a safe place for me to park some assets. Obviously, they've got a range of services available here on this platform as well, and we will be having a look at these individually in the coming weeks. But currently, that's what I'm doing on the platform. Very, very straightforward, making 6.7%. Now, Stefano, this is a area that you would have to say, well, I know you're an expert. Wyoming, first state in the US to approve a DAO, consolidating its crypto-friendly reputation. Now, you have set up many, many DAOs for many, many blockchain companies.
Yes.
Really quickly, what is a DAO, and is this big news that we're seeing breaking today?
So a DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. So it's basically a group of individuals that gather together to have an organization, and this organization would be managed through smart contracts. And so things like, for example, voting, making decisions, managing like funding and stuff like that is all happening through wallets, and therefore members and people that basically like express their opinion and then vote and decide the future of this organization. Now, one of the big issue that I'm seeing a lot of the time is that people think that a DAO is a recognized company, and this is not the case. A DAO is the same equivalent of like you going with some friends and create a WhatsApp group and just like managing things on your own. It's not a legal entity. This is where a lot of people think like, oh, we're doing a blockchain project, we have a DAO, we're safe. It's not the case. From a liability stand, a DAO puts all the liabilities to the user, to the person. The fact that you're anonymous, it's fine, but not as a forever protection, because someone in some way needs to be public. If you're running a project, there is a face of that project. Those type of things. If you want to like use that DAO, the funding to get like a loan, for example, or in DeFi, it's a different story. But if you want to, for example, like send an invoice and those type of things, you need a legal entity, or you need to do that on the private way. Wyoming is basically saying, you know what, your DAO model now can be an LLC in Wyoming. So this is a good news till here. And that's probably where it stopped, the good news. What I mean with this is, so if you want to do a DAO, now you have the option of being like, wait a second, instead of actually putting all the liabilities of the user, we can actually have that becoming a company, which is totally fine. And so according to Wyoming state law, you can now create a DAO and have it following the LLC model. So you would have an LLC that is recognized in Wyoming. Where the bad news come, unfortunately, is that Wyoming is within United States. The fact that Wyoming recognized the DAO does not mean that the United States recognized the DAO part. And decentralized autonomous organization does not mean anonymous organization. That's another thing that I'm seeing a lot of people like making a mistake over there. So Wyoming might not require you a KYC or an MAL, or so therefore you as a member of an LLC do not have to declare who you are. Why is this the case? Because the state does not require to actually knowing the person, the identity. There is no central registry filing system. This is not because of the DAO. This is because of how Wyoming works. Delaware is exactly the same, for example. Now, this is okay. So this is a benefit. It's like what they have used for actually like making the DAO a legalized entity in Wyoming. But on the other side, if you're having a company in Wyoming, you will have to interact with the IRS at some specific point. That means that your company, your Wyoming LLC, and so your DAO LLC, will need to have an EIN number, so a tax number. Even if you're not paying taxes, like even if you're doing all your business outside, you still need to tell the IRS, look, all the money that I made are not generated in the US, so my taxation is zero. To receive an EIN number, you need one person to be the face with the IRS. So here's the situation now. Wyoming tells you, do your DAO and do that anonymously. We don't care. Everything is okay. It's fine. The IRS tells you, okay, but you need to tell me who you are. At least one of you, one in that entire company, needs to tell me who you are. That person is putting the face up for every person of the DAO. Everybody. That means if the DAO made a mistake, that single person will carry all the liabilities for the US government.
Okay.
Now, if it's two brothers or two sisters or a brother and sister, or it's a family, or it's a group of 2 or 3 mates, I'm like, yeah, okay, you could do that. Do you need a DAO for that? You could have done that with an LLC already. But when we expand that to a concept of a DAO, where in specific case we have thousands of members, are you willing of taking liabilities for 1,000 people that are anonymous just because of the goodwill of the blockchain? If your answer is yes, then there you have it. From today, you can do that, and it's perfect. If your answer is no, then this is not really helping you out.
Okay. Interesting. So I'm sure there's going to be lots of scenarios, though, where somebody who's maybe homeless or down on their luck has paid a certain amount of money to be the face of a company.
It could be nominees directors are not a new thing. Many countries around the world still do that. There are still countries in Dubai or Singapore where legally you need to have a local to be a director,
Yeah.
So these type of models are not new. I'm sure that if there is a problem, there is always a solution. For sure, there is going to be someone willing to take that risk and be the face for many other people.
Yeah.
For sure.
Now, if you are in the blockchain space and you're wanting more information on this, or to set up a DAO or a company, get in touch with Stefano. He knows what he's doing. Now, other news of note. This one I think is just absolutely fantastic news out of Germany.
Kogan.com, buy a bag. There it is.
$120,
$30, $120, $35. You can have it white, cream, black, beige, all sorts of colors.
What are you doing? You're selling bags to our audience. I
I
love
was
this bit of
seeing, your
news here.
advertisement.
Basically, the German government have passed a law which allows investment funds to invest 20% of a fund into crypto. So I believe there's well over, I'm not going to do the math right now, but effectively that 20% equates to 415 billion in Germany, and these funds that is now able to come into the crypto market. Now, I do know for a fact that the Germans do love crypto, a lot of adoption in that country. So that's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. And if it will disseminate further in the EU. Any quick thoughts on this one, Stefano?
I think is good. We've seen that with a lot of countries that are starting opening up on institution investments as well. So getting more countries on board on that, it's for sure a positive thing.
Yeah.
Will that be translated in other countries accepting that? Potentially, yes, but I don't think that that's because Germany is doing that. Germany already had some pro crypto regulation. Think about the taxation, for example, and stuff like that. So did Portugal, so did Malta, so did Estonia. It's not that they did that because Germany did that. It's because there is an opportunity there, and the governments are being smart enough to catch that ball and be like, I want a piece of this cake as well. Obviously, the fact that the most important economy in all Europe is doing that gives you a business card that is a little bit different than, Estonia or Malta. Nothing against Estonia or Malta, obviously. I lived in Malta for a period and I love that as a country. But the weight that you put on the scale is a little bit different when it's Germany to do that, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. So from really positive news to one that's popping up constantly at the moment. Binance not authorized to operate in the Cayman Islands. We've obviously, if you don't know, the UK regulator has barred its citizens from using Binance. America obviously did that quite a while back, but recently we've had the Cayman Islands say, "Yep, you're not authorized to operate here." Saw something about Singapore having a closer look at Binance as well. Should people who have funds on Binance, should they be worried, in your opinion? And what is this article? I'm not sure whether you've read the article or not, but any thoughts on what the Caymans are saying here? And more importantly, should people be worried if they are using Binance, in your opinion?
So what the Cayman are saying, and like what's happening, like also with the UK and so on, is one of the things that we have mentioned many times as well, and we end like also saying that to a lot of leads that we have that want to like incorporate with us and want to do similar things. So the law is pretty clear on this. If you want to offer things like an exchange or, you know, financial products and, you know, anything that is regulated, you must have a license. And the misconception is that people believe that because they get a license in country A, they are allowed to operate everywhere in the world. This is not true. So to give an example, if you're getting, let's take the Cayman. So if you create a company in Cayman and you get like a security dealer license for the Cayman, you are allowed to offering your products to citizens of or residents of the Cayman Islands. That does not allow you to offer them to people anywhere else in the world. Not a single other country. You might have options like in the case, for example, of the European Union, where you can get like European Union level licenses that allows you to operate an entire European Union soil, but that doesn't allow you, for example, to offer your service to the Cayman Island, vice versa. And a lot of people don't follow this. I don't know why, but like the law is pretty clear. This is not a new thing, and it's always been the case. So the problem with this is to gather a license in every single country in the world, it will cost you a fortune. Like it's insane, the cost involved on things like that. So obviously the way that it works is that majority of the times people like goes and companies goes and get a license in, you know, a very, very easy place. Think about San Vicente and Grenadine, where there is no license for Forex activities, for example, or they will get a license in a quite reputable country like the US, like Europe, like Singapore, like Hong Kong, and so on. And then they would start offering the services outside, basically. That works when you are a small fish, but when you're big, you know, it's not that you're becoming like silent anymore or invisible. Like you're starting like stepping on toes of a lot of people at the same time. People will know who you are. And Binance got totally on that point where now it's too big to be ignored anymore. And, you know, Binance is pretty famous in the sense of like they have been very, very traditional on swinging around one country to another. They went to Singapore, they went to Malta. I think that then they had like a dealer agreement with Bermuda, I think, or Antigua. I don't remember which one of the two countries was it, but where they were like putting X million of dollars and they were generating X amount of work for the country in return of basically like an inception of working and offering like licenses and financial products and so on. So, you know, what's happening now is a path that in theory other countries can pick up. Yes, they can actually. It's in their right, because I don't think that Binance will have a license in every single country in the world. If they do have, they probably have it like on, I don't know, 5, 10, 20. Pure speculation. I have no idea, to be honest. But I really doubt that they would have a cover on every single country around the globe. Would that mean that you should be worried about that? Not really. Not really. Because traditionally things like that, when they happen, is number one, that doesn't mean that they're going to take down Binance. You know, it means that like the Cayman is not going to go and take down Binance and Binance is going to stop existence. It's just like if you're living in Cayman, you might not be able to use Binance anymore. But even when things like that happens, normally there is a fine that the company needs to pay. The company can refuse or not to pay that. And that's open up another set of like problems and issues. but you do have a time frame where, you know, they might tell you like from day X, you're not allowed to do this anymore. So if you're using Binance regularly, I would suggest to, if you're in one of those countries, UK, Cayman, you know, those type of places, maybe start looking for a second platform or a second product as well that you're comfortable using, that you're allowed using, in order then, like, if you got a notice that like they're going to close operation there and you're not going to be allowed to use that anymore, you got like at least a time frame that is fairly small and short, because you're already set up somewhere else and you can just like withdraw fairly quickly. The other thing is that, and it's the rule that doesn't define the episode of Cayman, if you do not use Binance for their products, leveraging trading, futures, whatever thing that they offer there, and so on, just move them already. They should not be there in the first place. Tagging on that, there is a news like that this is like the exchange that is in your country, Sean, Cryptopia, I think it was.
Yes, one of their employees has admitted to taking some Bitcoin in the last few days. Wasn't that much when he did it, but Bitcoin's gone up a lot.
Well, but that's the thing. So to give you like an example, that exchange, I had used that exchange only once to buy PASS token. BlockPass is a partner corporatio. I love what they're doing. They're super good. And, you know, I bought their tokens because I needed that, and I end up being lazy. So I just left them like on the exchange. The exchange like got hacked, closed down, blah, blah. I lost all my funds. That's the lesson. That's one, but there were been like few others in reality where there were hacks and I lost funds and so on. So I'm not saying this to like, you know, want to be the professor and be like, oh, you should do that, blah, blah. I made that mistake. It cost me money. And looking at the values of today, it actually cost me a lot of money. Take it from someone that got burned. Don't do that. Because, you know, you might have that thing that you're like, oh, but it's complicated. Oh, but I need to set up a wallet. Oh, but I need to do the withdrawal. Oh, but I need to do the KYC/ML on a new place. I understand all of those stuff. It's fair enough. But you're literally putting yourself in a position where you might spend like 1, 2, or 3 hours of your time. And on the other spectrum, if, you know, something bad happens, you might lose it all. Yeah. So if you have $100 or $200, would you be sad if you lose them? Maybe you will be upset, but it's not really going to change your life. But let's assume that you have $10,000, $20,000, $50,000, $200,000. If you lose it tomorrow or tonight while you're sleeping, would you be upset? If the answer is yes, then, you know, it doesn't matter if Cayman is going after Binance. You should do that already.
Yeah. Yes, and I just want to remind everyone, you know, the whole, well, not the whole point, but, you know, a large reason that I'm in crypto is I like the fact that of the self-sovereignty. You know, it's money I control. The whole point here is it removes the middleman. It removes the rent seekers, these central authorities. So, you know, look, obviously it's very easy to buy some coins and leave them on an exchange, but we've seen it time and time again. People, you know, so only use an exchange for very limited reasons, i.e. if you're trading. If you're not, get it off, get it in a wallet, get it into cold storage. Put it away. You're less likely to spend it, and it's more likely to go up in value and not get stolen from you. On that
also,
note,
the other thing, sorry, because many people, like, one of the argument that I'm start hearing now is like, yeah, but they do have staking in the exchanges. Okay, so you're willing to risk it all for a 2 or 3% a year?
Yeah, exactly. Don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah, so now speaking of getting ripped off, this is... we never like seeing this. This has been all over the news down here in New Zealand as well. A bunch of preschools actually got this ransomware, which I found very amusing. But yeah, these guys are going after a number of large companies, and they have just turned around today and they want to be paid in Bitcoin. Once again, I hate seeing this. We get all the dummies thinking Bitcoin is for criminals. Stefano, do we want to explain one more time? I mean, they're obviously very sophisticated people behind this, but it always astounds me that it's Bitcoin they want to get paid in. Bitcoin is a ledger that can be traced back. It's definitely not the easiest thing to be using to extort people. Not that I'm encouraging extorting, not extorting advice there. Thoughts on this one, Stefano?
Well, it makes sense from a company like that, because look at the option for a second. You got number one, demand is 70 millions. Okay, so we're talking about like a specific an amount of money that is not like 200, 300.
You know, a lot of people have actually paid these guys. I believe they were paid 11 million. I think it was by that. Well, we've got it here actually by the pipe.
And it's fair because like. So here's the thing. If you're using like a traditional method, like a bank account and so on, you can literally like have the bank freezing the funds. Like even if you're using a bank that is out of the SWIFT system in a different country, blah, blah, and so on, an episode like this, the bank will froze the money and everything. Then you got like the other spectrum, like the best possible thing that you could do would obviously be using a privacy coin. You know, a Monero.
They never seem to ask for those, though, do they? That's rather interesting.
No, they don't do that. But the reason why they don't do that is because, like, the people that are dealing with, I don't even believe that they would know what Monero is, for example, what Pirate Chain coin is, for example. And so, you know, that would be the safest option for them. But at the same time, you're trying to attack someone, scaring them, and then you're telling them, like, pay us in Monero. And they're going to be like, sorry, what's Monero? How do I buy that? Can you explain that to me? And you're there scamming people, and you're like, damn it! Now I need to explain all of these things. Like it doesn't work. Like it's
you're going to teach
like,
them about crypto so you can rip them off, basically.
Exactly. So obviously that's the issue over there, where the world is not ready yet for that. And so you sit in the middle at that point, where the only option that you have is really Bitcoin. Now, why is Bitcoin a better option than the bank? Because once you send that, you receive them, nobody can take them away from you. So that's the plus. Why would you prefer to use Bitcoin rather than a bank account to do a scam? Because once someone sends that to you, there is no reverse bottom. Nobody can take that away from you.
Yeah.
But why would you prefer to use a privacy coin rather than Bitcoin to do something like that? Because it's a public ledger. Everybody can do that. Which means that at that point, your only option to actually cash out those Bitcoin is by using a mixer, is by using like a peer-to-peer thing, is by loading those Bitcoin little by little to people that cannot trace them, or they don't care of checking those type of things. Because if you're putting that into an exchange, into a custodian, into a financial institution, into a broker, whoever it is, those people will actually flag that as tinted, and they will not either accept that, or they will keep that, froze that, and then report you. Because that's what they have to do, because they do have their set of regulation to follow and laws to follow as well. So you don't have that option. It's true. Everybody knows that those are stolen funds. It's true. But you always have the little Joe that doesn't read the news, that doesn't keep himself updated on the news and on the information, that goes on the website, buys some peer-to-peer Bitcoin because he thinks to be very, very smart, because he likes conspiracy theory and all of that stuff. He believes that the flat is Earth and so on, that the Earth is flat, sorry. And so he goes and he meets up with someone, buy Bitcoin, and doesn't double check on those type of things. And he ends up with tinted Bitcoin. So the little Joe, sooner or later, is going to have a lot of problems. But the person that is doing the attack doesn't have an issue in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you mentioned Pirate Chain there and conspiracy theories. The other sort of thing of note for me this week was John McAfee's lawyer was interviewed and made it extremely clear that he felt McAfee definitely didn't commit suicide. They're calling for a independent autopsy along with his wife, who also has stated she does not think it was suicide. She'd spoken to him 3 times that day. We've also had Edward Snowden come out on this story and with his concerns that yes, he thought he was assassinated and was worried for Julian Assange. So, look, I think we're definitely going to hear more on this one moving forward. I don't really have too many other comments to make on that, but yeah, it is just sharing with you that the both the wife and the lawyer have come out in the last few days and said I think he was killed, not a suicide. So yeah, we'll see how that one plays out. Stefano, before we wrap up today, anything else of note for you moving forward before we see everyone back here for the live show on Friday?
Oh, I think that it's market is bouncing back a bit. I'm seeing, for the first time, I'm seeing a very nice trend of people approaching me, and it's probably because, like I say, 15,000 times that I want to discuss. I don't want to discuss prices, TA, and stuff like that. But now I'm finally seeing like a very nice wave of people approaching for usage questions. And so, things about like, how do you breed a good Axie? Are you planning on running a node? What type of requirements do you need for running an Ethereum node? Or, things like, how do you move your funds from Ethereum to Polygon? How do I join QuickSwap and do liquidity LPs or yield farming? Like, I'm really, really starting seeing a lot of people now getting to the point where they want to find options to use products and to use the space, which I think that is also consequences on the fact that we're like on that sideline. Let's be honest, prices are not really being moving in too much, like we're still like going on that range and so on. So maybe people are bored a little bit and they're like, oh, I don't know what to do, let me just like figuring out other stuff to spend time, to kill time, meanwhile that we're waiting for going back to the moon and so on. But either way, I am very, very happy to see this happening.
I'm really pleased to hear you say that. I'm seeing exactly the same. Just amongst my sort of small crypto meetup that we have here, there's a massive change in how guys are actually using the blockchain. They're heavily involved in the gaming space now. They've got into DeFi. They're asking smart questions now, and more importantly, they're getting in there and actually using everything on offer. That's really fantastic to see, especially when you start off with those same guys and it's all about, the next 10x and price, trade. It's great to see those guys really, really moving forward in leaps and bounds and how they're approaching the space.
It does, because it's one of those things where like when you leave out of the door the laziness, and because this is really what we're talking about in a super like down to the bone, when you stop being lazy and therefore you stop asking questions like what is the next thing that is going to do 50x and those type of things, and you start actually like putting some time into stuff, you will see that the return that you make is actually even higher than trading. Take for example, like, now I don't know what type of leverage, what type of capital you would need and those type of things, but let's take the example of like generating like 2-3 ETH in pure profit on a matter of like a week or something like that. 2-3 ETH is like $6,000, $7,000, like those type of values right now. Now, I'm pretty sure that there's going to be someone in the comment, which is obviously lying to himself or herself, being like, I make that in 2 days with a leverage of 200x, which is obviously not true. We'll know that. But in general, like making those type of trades, like, either you got the 10x and you're like in the right time at the right moment, or it's going to take you like many, many different things. That type of return right now, you can make that by selling Axies, by literally selling cute pets on a marketplace and really putting like your risk at super, super low, because it's really like something that you can make in a matter of a week. But how do you do that? This is not a trade. This is not like you go on an exchange, you buy one thing and you wait for the moon. This requires you to put down a little bit of understanding, how to buy, how to breed, how to transfer things, how to move from one layer to another. There are a lot of different things altogether. But when you master that, when you learn them, then you make your money.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. Now we've got a whole heap of content, people. I'll put some links below to a couple of things Stefano's mentioned there. How to move from ETH to Matic. A couple of links to our Axie content. But look, join us on Fridays. We're endeavoring to make that live show more about teaching you about the basics of Bitcoin, crypto blockchain. So join us with your questions. It does have quite a strong gaming focus, but we're here to help right across the board. So we'll see you there for that show. If you are interested in talking price, and I'm sure we'll be covering a bit of Axie stuff. I'm back with Baloo, that's on Wednesdays, and with Jesse and Leanne on Thursdays. Stefano, I will see you Friday for the live show. Thanks so much for your time today. Lots of knowledge imparted once again. Most appreciated. And most importantly, thank you to you, the audience, for watching. We'll see you all back here tomorrow. Cheers now. Bye-bye.
1 BTC and 32 ETH.